Are you gonna make YouTube today, Jacob?
Oh, dude, you're making a YouTube video.
Give me just a life tip.
Okay, so whenever you get pre-approved from a lender to buy a house, spend as much money as you possibly can for what they'll approve you for, because, yeah, the American dream. I'm not a financial advisor. That's not financial advice.
All right, so essentially everybody hates on the pentatonic scale because it's easy, it's cheap at the beginning, but I have a whole new way of thinking about this and revealing to you why it is not so cheap as it comes across as. We don't have to be elitist about this. You could start thinking about, let's take the A minor pentatonic scale, take it as a mode, not a pattern on a guitar neck, take it as a mode. See it almost like it's its own microcosm of a diatonic scale, even though it's simplified. Like right off the bat, you have 5, not full chord, but you have 5 essentially, let's just say chords, tonalities in the key. You have A minor, obviously. You have that whole triad. You have C major, you have the whole triad. You have a G power chord, just G and D. You have a D power chord, just D and A. And you have, essentially, you have an E minor 7 in there. And most of these chords do have their certain 7th on top of them. All of this is within the pentatonic scale. You have, we're talking about extended chords of this too. You have an A minor 7, you have a C 9, you have a D minor 7 that's implied. All right, so basically we have 5 chords in the key. Okay, if we consider it a key. But now let's get a little esoteric, because this is where there's a certain duality of the pentatonic scale that people do not notice. Because the 1-5 relationship in this mode is minor. You have a minor 1 and a minor 5. But then you have the implications of 2 major chords, which is the C and the G. So you have a major 3 chord. You have the implication of a major 7 of this key. And then you have the D power chord, which is obviously, the implication is minor, but at the same time, it's vague enough to where it's like that could be a, for lack of a better word, androgynous tonality. It could be implying a D major, because the A minor pentatonic scale is still, it's in the key of G too, even though you first associate it with the key of C major. So is it D minor, is it D major? Who the hell knows? Who cares? Well, this is to point out that every other chord in this mode is virtually, I'm going to consider it, aside from the androgyny of the D, that sounds funny, but it's all masculine chords in this key, dyads or triads, whichever way you want to see it. But the 2 most important chords, the 2 most relevant chords, the 1 and the 5, are obviously minor. And these 2 chords have their 7th as well. So the E minor 7, there's no 5th. But you have all the ingredients you need. You have the 3rd, and you have the 7th, E minor 7. And they call this, when you really start using this as a mode, like a diatonic scale, you will start making stuff that sounds, the cliche is it sounds like Chinese music or Indian music, and Indian as in like Native American kind of Indian. But the tonal vagaries you see in this, the fact that these certain things that I'm calling chords, of course they're not triads, we have power chords. We have a G power chord, we have a D power chord. We have a G power chord, we have a D power chord. And by virtue of being a power chord, that means it's vague. Where the hell is the 3rd? What's going to define that chord? And that's what makes you feel like you're walking on the Great Wall of China. The mystique of the Orient is a meme that comes to mind. And you'll notice because there's a certain vagary, there's a certain mist within this tonality that illuminates something about the pentatonic scale. When it's time to solo on the pentatonic scale, you know, Jimmy Page, John Frusciante, they do that same lick. I know from just me making that noise, you know exactly what lick I'm talking about. But the pentatonic, it has a certain melodic wraparound due to this kind of misty effect in the tonality. You have to know, you can just get back to the 1. so easily. You can get back to the one so easily, and you can mentally grasp onto pentatonic melodies so simply. And that's why it is a framework that you use first before you start adding the color notes. This is A minor pentatonic. This is before you add F into it. This is before you add the note B into it. You don't have these notes of Aeolian in the pentatonic yet, because you first get a certain framework. This is a melodic framework, it comes in the full form when you have, like, say, A Aeolian or A Dorian or A Phrygian. The effect is. So it's more like being conscious of what the pentatonic scale is. It's like, no, when you're using it, it is a little vaguer melodically. It's not as clear melodically. But if you're using that as a mode, it's suddenly write a whole piece using the A minor pentatonic scale, right? Arpeggiation, just using those 5 notes in the bottom, then write a melody on top. And you'll see exactly how this works. Because when it's self-contained, it's not necessarily vague. It only sounds vague in comparison to a diatonic scale. And that's where a lot of the elitism comes in. They say you're primitive, you're juvenile for using the pentatonic scale, which might have some validity to that. But I'm here as a proud pentatonic player to stand up for the integrity of the pentatonic scale. Yes, that's what we're doing here in 2022. And the fact that all 5 of these chords are essentially power chords in this mode. And that's true with diatonic scales too. The majority of the chords can be written as power chords. But when you use power chords as your harmonic backdrop, that makes the harmony vague enough to where melodically you're open to a lot more notes to clarify that harmony. And even if you're just noodling pentatonic, that's the thing, you're going to clarify the harmonic melodic relationship. You're going to clarify that as it's going to have that same sound. But when you start to, and this is the thing, the other side of the debate does have to say, and I'm fulfilling the other side of the debate by seeing the A minor pentatonic scale as a mode. Try to actually use it as a mode. Voice lead it. Have your melody coincide with your actual harmony. Explore what it means to have the E minor 7 here. Make that a chord. E, G, D. Spell those notes out. E minor 7 without the 5th. Then play a melody on top of it. Use a chord tone. Use E, G, or D. Have that 7th as the melody note. And build in that through your progression. Because when you're able to use the A minor pentatonic, for example, and write using that scale as if you're a classical composer, trying to write something that might even sound symphonic, possibly, from a compositional standpoint, you begin to finally understand the scale, and you immediately know that why noodling over the pentatonic works. You understand that. Duh. And you understand it intellectually more than you do physically. Because most people come to understand it on a more physical nature in their hands than they do in the brain. I think that is the big criticism from people against pentatonic players. But by seeing this as a mode, it will make your melodic use of the pentatonic scale become that much crazier. And the thing is, I'm not against noodling. I'm all about it. Noodle. And I don't even like the word noodle. It's more like unleash your raw power into that thing. Make it a physical Dionysic thing. That's what the pentatonic scale is really used for. It's a Dionysic thing. It's not about sounding so pretty. It's supposed to sound stupid. It's supposed to sound stupid in a melodic sense on the your basic guitar lead sense. But knowing that, it's like, yeah, let us evolve a little. Let us be that just more wise. And begin understanding that silly pentatonic shape we all know as a set of things that could be chords. That could be a bed of chord tones. I'll tell you this right off the bat. You can write so many riffs using the chords A, C, D. I'm not going to say C again. You could use the C again, but like A, C, D, and G. Put those in any damn order you want to. You will come up with a cool riff. It's inevitable. And then you have and then just hit an E. Let that be your 5. wrap right back around into A minor. Done. Dunzo. So try doing this, and if anything else, if none of this makes sense to you, at minimum you'll start to see it as at least dyads, and I'll start to make like John Mayer, Chuck Berry. I'll start to make that make sense. Even all this neo soul shit, I mean, it's a decent foundation for that. Just knowing the sheer dyads of this scale before you start adding the color notes. But well, that's all I gotta say. I will stick up for the pentatonic all day, every day until I die.